Hello world, and welcome back to another video. I talk about Magical Starsign a lot on this channel. It's what makes me happy in the long run, and today is no different. But I'll be appealing to a different crowd this time around. As you can see from the title of the video, I'll be making an in-depth tutorial series on how to successfully complete Magical Starsign from start to finish. From the beginning of the first planet, to the end game, to even the post game. And yes, I'm going to suffer during the most of it. To explain what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to go over most scenarios in the course of the game and show you how to properly manage these situations. Now, I know you can probably find a guide online about this game, and trust me, I used a guide for this video to make a much better visual guide because it's easier to swallow a video format than reading a very, very long string of text. But hey, you might even find some new stuff that you've never seen before. But without further delay, let's start at the very beginning. Before you even pick the character's gender, the first thing you're shown is the most important screen in the game, whether you're a light mage or a dark mage. If you saw my last video ranking all the elements, you'll know I put light is significantly better as dark. That may not be entirely true. Let me explain. Think this screen as the game telling you what difficulty you want, with light being a safer and easier mode with less overall power, and dark being a more offensive and riskier playthrough, being the hard mode. To name a better example of this, in Pokemon Red and Blue, you have the option between 3 starters, one of grass, one of fire, and one of water. The grass starter has a better advantage over most gyms in the game, letting the grass starter be the easiest option, while the fire starter has more gyms going against it than towards it, leaving it to be the hard mode, and the water starter is more or less the standard mode. Now in Pokemon your options differ drastically compared to Magical Starsign, but the point being that it's still a difficulty setting. Fortunately for you, I'm here to cover both light and dark, so that's only going to show up when there's actually a light and dark enemy on screen, how it's going to make everything different. Plus, you only have one ability in the very beginning of the game, so it won't really be too much of a difference. Aside from light having the ability to make enemies miss often, compared to darks having the ability to not let enemies heal themselves. The only other thing you can do in the beginning of the screen is give your character a name, and even all the other characters' names, update letters, and that's very nice. Once you've gone over all the story stuff, it's time for the main gameplay. But in the overworld, you control your character using the face button as direction for walking, or tap and hold the touchscreen for running. You can also use the shoulder buttons to interact with NPCs in the overworld, or you can talk to them by far distances if you just tap on the character to engage in, a one-sided conversation, like most RPGs. Once you've actually gotten into the actual tutorial fight, the game does a great job of telling you all the basics, though it doesn't cover some of the advanced tips that can overlook newer players. The first thing is the question mark icon on the bottom of the screen. This is the help icon. This tells you more information about attacks and even percentage of magic status effects. This can be useful when you acquire a new move or something like that. What is also used for grinding for small enemies is a trick in the game which the game never tells you about, as far as I'm concerned. It's the ability to remove magic animation from battle. When you're about to use magic on the screen, press and hold the R button before the magic ring appears. That way, the game can skip the animation for free. This prevents you of doing a special trick though, called spell striking. What is spell striking? Well, in the animation before you cast a spell, tap the character a few frames before the aura ring disappears to create a bright light that surrounds the character. Doing this will increase the damage of the spell. This is an extremely useful trick from beginning to end, though the timing gets more strict when the spell gets more powerful near the end of the game. And finally, there's the perfect guard technique. When the enemy approaches with a spell or physical attack, there's a split second before the enemy hits you. Tap the character at the right time to get the perfect guard. Now, an important thing is most enemies will not have the same timing. Some enemies will be much faster than others. It's mostly unpredictable, unlike games like Mario and Luigi where some enemies will show you where they're going to attack. There are some ways to prevent this thing from happening. For instance, if you put a character in the front row, then if an enemy uses a physical attack, they will always aim for the front row. So it's an easy chance to practice guarding. As long as you don't tap the same character twice, you'll be able to guard perfectly fine. However, there's another thing. Some enemies have unblockable attacks. These attacks are rare but powerful. Some may look unblockable, but they are. The only other thing to really go over is like physical attacks can miss. You can't dodge enemy magic attacks, and you can also have a max of 4 characters per row. Alright, that basically covers the advanced stuff. Nothing useful can be found in the Will-O-Wisp Academy, so let's move on to Erd. Once you abruptly crash land on the desert planet, grab the mysterious Jude from the crashed ship to help your Dolce rabbit friend. Then Lassie will join your party. I'll explain the characters in a separate video, but for now, she's a wind mage with only 1 move, and she's effective against any earth mage in the area, which is helpful because there is literally a boss fight right in front of you. Just use the windstorm move and then bam, antlion. One thing to note before this battle starts is no matter which element you are, whether light or dark, it will always be daytime for light and nighttime for dark when you crash land, making for an easy advantage. The Antlion's first attack is Tail Spec, which only hits 1 target, while Sandblast hits both. For Sandblast, you can easily block it. I've been trying to block with 2 characters at once. The timing is extremely hard, but if you want to just guard Lassie, she is definitely more useful. Go back to the ship and heal for your MP and HP, and then switch Lassie to the back row. This is useful for taking out all of the Sentry Mark 1 and Shot. Rocket Punch is a very easy attack to guard, and it's their only attack. After you attempt to steal a rocket ship, you land in jail. The end.
Game over, yeah!
Just kidding, it's not the end. Use your Dark and Light ability to lure the big robot into the pit for a nice bridge. Grab the chest containing a sugar star, then press the button to activate the bridge, leading to the scared wabbit. Then it's time for the big Securitron fight. It has 2 attacks, where it locks on, and then it uses missiles. When you use the target lock-on attack, it might lock on 2 or 3 times. When it locks on more than 2 times, use that character to block. You don't really have many healing items, so be careful. This is still just another simple boss fight. Continuing on, you'll find a scared purple creature and go inside the Mole Town Peat Moss, where a few story events take place, forcing you to go into the Spiny Hole. However, there are a few things that can be done to help with your progress. First things first, there's a pot that can heal your HP to full, but before you even get all the HP, stand in front of the HP pot and use Lassie's Wind ability. This can net you free Sugar Stars. Sugar Stars are items that give you the Trance status effect. A status effect that increases the amount of HP you gain every turn. Not only that, it can also be used on the small metal hat guy named Pizza, who'll give you free warp points on the planet you're currently on. Explaining warp points is simple. Go into the map, click the planet that you're on, tap the metal hat icon to warp to that area. However, there are some instances where the game will not allow you to warp. If that's the case, just follow the main route until a cutscene appears, then the game will allow you to warp anywhere. Here also lies the shop and inn. The shop sells nice accessories, however the inn is extremely useful. Let me explain. In the game, there's an ability called Celestial Swap, which you cannot access right now. Celestial Swap will be able to change the planet's rotation using the ability of magic. However, you do not have that right now. However, a neat trick that you can use is going to the inn to change the planet manually. It may take a while, but stop right before the wind planet is in its respective quadrant, then next battle you'll be able to be powered up with Lassie, doing crazy damage. It only costs 5 Bira, and you should probably have at least 160 up to this point if you've done every battle up to this point. If you have plenty of leftover Bira, I recommend just getting some equipment, preferably some of the stuff that is more useful to your defenses. That's the only thing you really don't have right now, that or gummy frogs. But now, let's proceed down the Spiny Hole. Once down here, you're exposed to the random encounter effect, where steps can trigger battle. The 2 main enemies to encounter here are the Soldier Ant, which wields a sword and shield and resists all physical attacks, and the Magician Ant, who who rocks a nice, sick cane, who is resistant to all magic attacks. You know what to do, just physical attacks on the magic guy and magic attacks on the physical guy. You can also find the Mud Jammer here, who throws a rock and misses very frequently. Don't fear him, he's just a cutie. You can also find holes in the ground containing gummy worms. If you interact with them at the right time, you'll get a free gummy worm, which heals your MP. But if you mistime it, you have to battle the foes, then you get the worm. It's nice to get it, but it's also nice getting free experience. In the cave, you'll also find a Thunder Bomb, which is an item that you can hit all enemies with a certain element. This element is wind, which is useful because you're on the Earth planet, so you have another wind attack. And you can also find a Wakey Tail, a very great tool to revive a fallen friend. And once you're in the second room, you'll face the dreaded Ant Queen. The Ant Queen can be quite a hurdle if unprepared. However, play your cards well, and it shouldn't be that bad. She starts with 2 Ant Nobles, one blocking magic and the other blocking physical attacks. If both ants are defeated, the Queen will summon more. She also has 2 attacks of her own, Ant Acid only attacking one person from above, and Royal Feast, where she gets one of the ants and feeds it to the Ant Queen, which can also heal her. Not that much though. There are a few great strategies that you can do. For instance, you can put Lassie in the back row for a devastating wind talent against one of the nobles and the Ant Queen herself. You can also use Protagonist just to spam light or dark depending if it's bright or dark out. You can also use at the end to set it to light or dark. I preferably set it to dark so you can get some free experience if you're light, then in the battle when it starts it will turn daytime. Another strategy is also having Lassie in the front and just going to a full offensive strategy, and when it's the main character's turn, you can also just use the Thunder Bomb that you picked up, or you can save the Thunder Bomb till later. Trust me, those bombs are going to be useful. If you're running low on health, you can resort to the Wakey Tail with plenty of gummy frogs you've gotten at the shop. Once the Queen falls, take out the other ants, and after the battle, claim the Digging Claws as a prize. Once back to Peat Moss, the king shows 3 treasure chests containing 2 hair clips, 2 wooden clogs, and Slippy Oil, which is, when thrown in battle, gives enemies the Clumsy status, which gives a higher chance to drop rare items. Inside Gorgonzola's Hola, you'll also find 100 Bira. Ew. But more story stuff commences with you using more wind magic in the Starland where the stars sleep, which is creepy but turns out to be pretty charming. But once there, put Lassie in the back row to face against the Sentry robots at Mark II and Mark III. You can probably get them in one shot if the wind planet is still powered up. MK3 in particular has a new Rocket Punch XL move. It has a target lock on, but if you're very scared, just block with the character and you'll be okay. Once you're on the second floor of the Cahave Ruins, you'll be able to face against the red robot who threw you in jail. If you get captured by him, it's really no problem. You just get sent back outside, forcing you to just go back to the second floor. Just sneak around him, and you'll face against the amazing sequel to Securitron, Securitron 2, the Securitroning. The fight is very similar, but he has a new move, Zapnet, which does 40 or 50 damage depending if you have good defense or not, which does a lot and can be very scary. It's also a very hard attack to block. In my experience, it may be unblockable. He also has more health, but it's the same thing. Use wind magic, destroy the machine, and block when you need to. You'll also get a rusty screw if you beat him, just like the first Securitron. Once you're done, head to the ship, and the cutscene plays out leading to the next planet, the water planet, Cassia.